Further insight on China-US relations, let's turn now to Zhao Hai. He is the Director of International Studies at National Institute for Global Strategy. Really appreciate you joining us on the program today. Now, the most recent visit by Raimondo further indicates China and the US are finally talking again. Do you think that they can actually work together?
Hi, Sally. Thank you for having me. Yes, I think looking back, this is the fourth high-level visit from the United States to China since Secretary Blinken, and then after Secretary Yellen, this time Raimondo. I think China and U.S. is on the right track to improve relations between the two sides. And remember, relationship and business, particularly U.S. business in China, is a very important issue for the U.S. side. And this time, this talk has been relatively constructive and open to each other. Now we have established more communication lines between the two sides, and hopefully this will continue to contribute to the improved business environment for both countries.
As you say, both sides say that they want to stop this downward spiral and put a floor under the relationship, but is either side actually willing to make any compromises and to try and meet halfway on any issues?
Well, so far it looks like both sides don't want to step back and make major concessions to each other. However, I think both sides have low expectations, and right now the most important thing is to stop the slippery into a lower sort of situation between position for two sides. So the good news is that hopefully in the future there won't be further tightening of the trade and investment environment for both sides and stabilize the relationship at present level. And in the future, when the two sides communicate more, there will be opportunities to cooperate and to improve relations for the foreseeable future.
So, of course, the hope is that China and the US pursue policies that will reduce economic and geopolitical tensions and foster healthy cooperation on global issues like climate change and AI regulation. But what happens if they don't? Where do we go from here?
Well, I think both sides understood that the two leaders of the world, particularly in terms of governance, if the two big powers don't work with each other, there will be global disaster. And I think American side, particularly Secretary Yellen, has stated that if U.S. and China have a complete decoupling, then there will be a disaster and catastrophe for the world. And also, if we don't work together on major issues like climate change and also the pandemic, for instance, in the future, then I think the world will suffer, not just U.S. and China, but globally. And also, if you remember, without cooperation on the global supply chain, and if we continue to see each other as major risks and the supply chain severs, then I think that disruption also will reverberate throughout the global trading system.
So with yet another successful US visit to China, what about a meeting between President Biden and President Xi? Do you think that will be on the cards, possibly at APEC?
Well, right now it looks like the two sides going according to plan, and our hope, of course, is that President Xi will visit the U.S. and have a bilateral summit in San Francisco later this year. The conditions needs to be met. I think the environment needs to be created so that two sides and president can talk about how to improve relations in the next year, because the U.S. election is coming and the domestic political environment is not very conducive to improved bilateral relationship. So at present, it's a test for the Biden administration on whether or not they can manage their domestic environment, domestic disputes, and to have a unified voice towards China.
Zhao Hai, thank you very much. Director of International Political Studies at National Institute for Global Strategy.